Dawn rose over the ridge in a pale wash of gold, and I stepped out of the cabin with a quiet sense of ritual. Morning always carried a strange stillness in these mountains, a silence so complete it felt like a living thing. I had chosen this solitude years ago, a kind of exile, a place where no voices haunted me, no expectations pressed on me, no memories burned through my sleep. I told myself I preferred isolation. I told myself it was discipline. Truth was something harsher, but truth never cared what a man preferred. My name is Elias Ward, and I built my new life on the wreckage of the old one. Every day began the same. I inspected the tools on my workbench, checked the old seismic scanner, brewed bitter coffee with a taste like metal, monitored the land I lived on. This routine kept the ghost quiet, or quiet enough, at least until that morning 3 days ago when silence broke, and nothing has been the same since. It began as a vibration under my boots, a faint tremor at first. I paused on the porch and listened. The earth shuddered again, heavier this time. A dull pulse rolled up through the soil. Something had struck the ground with impossible force. I waited for another tremor. None came. The signal felt unnatural yet grimly purposeful. Not the shift of a fault line, not the fall of stone. More like an impact, a landing, or a crash. The thought unsettled me, and that alone meant something was wrong. I armed myself out of instinct, not fear. An old rifle from military days rested by the door. I slung it over my shoulder, checked the charge. My breathing stayed level because fear is a skill like anything else. It can be mastered. The forest met me with tall pines and long shafts of sun slicing through branches. Birds scattered as I advanced. Their sudden flight felt like a warning. The trail narrowed as terrain twisted upward. I moved quickly, my pace deliberate, my focus sharp. Each step carried the weight of memory. Long ago, I had reacted too slowly to danger, too carelessly. My brother had paid for that mistake with his life. I vowed I would never hesitate again, not even for a heartbeat. That vow echoed in me as the scent of scorched earth grew stronger. A warm wind gusted through the trees. It carried ash, fresh and acrid. I gripped my rifle and pushed forward until the woods opened into a clearing that should not have existed. The ground had collapsed into a deep crater. Soil was fused into blackened glass. Smoke drifted upward in thin spirals. Heat shimmered in the air like a curtain of distorted light. Whatever had struck the earth had come from above, not from this world. My boots cracked the glassy surface as I approached the center. Something white gleamed against the scorched crater floor. At first, I thought it was bone. Then it shifted. A small creature lay curled near the deepest point. Its body trembled with rapid, shallow breaths. Pale scales shimmered in the sun with an eerie brilliance. Its wings drooped like torn fabric. A long tail twitched weakly. The creature lifted its head, and 2 luminous eyes locked onto mine. It was a dragon, or something close enough to silence every thought. But a living myth, a creature that should not exist. Yet there it was, fragile, burned, dying. I stepped back out of instinct. My heartbeat thudded in my ears. This made no sense. No training or science or logic could contain what I was seeing. But disbelief changed nothing. The thing was alive, and it needed help. A low whimper escaped the creature. Its voice sounded like fractured glass. It tried to rise, but its legs buckled and it collapsed again. It watched me with an expression I recognized too well. It was the look of someone who no longer expected rescue. A look I had seen in my brother during his final moments. Something clenched inside me. Something sharp and painful that I thought I had buried long ago. I should have walked away. Any rational man would have. This was not my problem. It was not even my world. Yet a different part of me spoke louder. The part that still believed a life could be saved if someone simply acted fast enough. The part that carried every regret I had ever tried to forget. I knelt beside the creature, and it recoiled at first. Then slowly it stretched its neck toward me with a hesitant trust that pierced straight through my defenses. "You are a disaster waiting to happen," I whispered under my breath. The creature blinked. Maybe it understood the tone. Maybe it only recognized that I was not here to hurt it. I slid my arms under its small frame. Its body radiated heat like smoldering embers. It weighed almost nothing. A shiver ran through it as I lifted. Its head rested weakly against my chest. As I carried the fragile thing across the blasted clearing, I glanced back at the crater. Something about its symmetry bothered me. The shape was too precise, too deliberate, as if the impact had been engineered, not accidental. But that thought could wait. Survival came first. By the time I reached my cabin, the creature had gone limp. Its breath slowed. I laid it on a blanket beside the hearth, fed the fire until warmth filled the room. I examined scorched wounds on its wings and faint cracks running along its scales. The injuries looked unnatural, almost like it had burst from something under immense pressure, something that had exploded around it. A soft pulse of light rippled over its chest. I froze. The creature emitted a faint glow as if fire lived beneath its skin. Then the glow faded. I leaned back and stared at it with a mix of dread and wonder. I had no idea what I brought home. I only knew I had made a choice, one that could not be undone. Night fell as the creature slept. I sat beside it with a rifle across my knees. The fire snapped quietly. My eyelids grew heavy, but I forced them open. Every instinct in me warned that I had stepped onto a path with no return. Yet something about the creature felt important. Fate had placed it in my hands. Whether that meant salvation or destruction, I could not guess. Then for a moment the creature stirred. Its eyes opened halfway. It looked at me. A faint sound escaped its throat, almost a name, or perhaps an echo of one. I leaned closer and heard a soft whisper, a single word spoken with fragile intention. Stay. My breath caught. The word carried no command, only fear, only need. Against all logic, I nodded. I will stay. The creature relaxed and drifted back to sleep. The fire cast long shadows across the room. Outside the forest, held its breath. I felt an uneasy certainty settle in my chest. Whatever force had delivered this being to Earth was not finished. Something was coming, something vast. And this tiny life was a spark that would ignite it. I did not know how soon the sky would break open. I did not know that 3 days later the world would stand beneath a fleet of black warships beyond counting. All I knew was that a choice had been made, and nothing would ever be the same again. Morning settled over the cabin with a cold clarity that felt heavier than usual. I woke before the fire had died and before thought fully returned. The creature lay curled beside the hearth, wrapped in the blanket I had given it. Its breathing had steadied to a night, though its body still pulsed with a faint inner glow. I approached slowly, and it lifted its head with cautious recognition. Something in its eyes told me it remembered my promise, even if it did not understand the words. I crouched beside it and studied its injuries again. The fractures along its scales seemed to have fused slightly while it slept. A shimmer like liquid light traveled over its skin. Each pulse suggested a body designed for rapid recovery. Not natural, not accidental, engineered. The realization struck me harder than I expected. Whatever this being was, it came from intelligence far beyond human reach. You are healing fast, I said quietly. The creature made a soft trill of sound in response. It watched my hands as I reached for a small diagnostic tool, a remnant from my military years. Not meant for alien biology, but better than blind guesses. I hesitated before powering it on. Once I scanned this thing, I would cross a line that separated curiosity from involvement. But involvement had already chosen me the moment I carried it home. The scanner hummed to life and cast a pale beam over the creature. Data spiked across the display in frantic patterns. None of it resembled anything in the system. No carbon sequences. No familiar protein chains. Entire sections of its structure were composed of an intricate metallic lattice like microscopic armor woven into living tissue. One entry flashed in red with a warning I had never seen. Unknown organism. Unknown energy signature. Potentially volatile. I exhaled slowly, and the creature shifted as if sensing my tension. I offered a calming gesture. I am not here to hurt you. It relaxed slightly and placed its small clawed hand against my wrist. The contact was warm. Too warm. A low hum vibrated through my arm. Energy. Alive and aware. Something in that gesture felt like communication. When I finished the scan, the data painted a picture I did not fully understand. This creature was not born. It was constructed with intention. Its body stored energy like a living battery. Its neural pathways resembled a hybrid of biological tissue and circuitry. Its bones were reinforced with a mineral compound harder than steel. The conclusion formed with quiet finality. This was a weapon, or a prototype of one. Yet, nothing about it felt threatening. I sat back and rubbed my temples while the creature watched with childlike patience. You came from somewhere, I murmured. Somewhere that wanted you alive. Or wanted you dead. But which? The creature blinked slowly. A soft whine escaped its throat. A moment later it leaned closer and pressed its forehead against my knee. A gesture of trust so simple it startled me. Its eyes locked onto mine. Something shifted in the air. A faint resonance rippled through the cabin like a vibration beneath hearing. Then images flickered across my mind. Not clear pictures. Impressions. Fire. Darkness. A great shadow looming. A vast structure cracking open. Fear. Falling. The sensations hit me in a surge and vanished just as quickly. I staggered, and the creature pulled back with a weak chirp of apology. That was you, I whispered. You showed me what happened to you. The creature lowered its head as if ashamed. I reached out slowly and brushed my hand over its scaled brow. Do that again if you need to, I said, but ease into it. My brain is not as tough as yours. It made a short sound like agreement. A low rumble echoed from outside. Not thunder. Machinery. I moved to the window and scanned the tree line. A thin column of smoke drifted from the direction of the crater. Something had disturbed the site. I tightened my grip on the window frame. If someone found the impact zone, it would not take long for them to track anything that escaped it. I returned to the creature. I need call someone, not to expose you, but to understand what is coming. The creature stiffened. Its wings twitched. A note of panic vibrated through its body. You fear someone will find you, I said. It met my gaze, and the resonance brushed my thoughts again. Not images this time, just a sense of being hunted. I crouched beside it. I will not let anyone take you, not without knowing why they want you. The creature relaxed, though unease still clouded its eyes. I powered up an old communications pad. Its connection to military networks was long severed, but it could still access a few of my personal archives, files from my past, research databases, reports on classified technologies. I searched for anything resembling the energy readings from the creature. Nothing matched. Nothing even approached the complexity of its structure. The deeper I looked, the clearer it became. This being did not originate from Earth. Not in secret labs. Not in black programs. Nowhere in human reach. I shut the pad off and leaned back. My mind reeled with a single unavoidable truth. Whatever had sent this creature was capable of tearing open the sky, capable of sending something alive across unimaginable distance, and capable of doing so with destructive force if the crater was any indication. The creature crawled closer and rested its head in my lap. I placed a hand on its back. Heat pulsed beneath its scales. A rare calm settled over me. I had spent years wishing I could have saved someone, years believing I had nothing left worth protecting. Now this tiny life depended on me completely. It forced me to confront the question I had avoided for too long. Who was I when someone needed me? Outside, the wind swept through the trees with a restless whisper. A faint metallic taste filled the air. Storms never carried that scent. Only engines. Only machines breaking the atmosphere. My instincts sharpened in an instant. I rose to my feet. The creature watched me with widening eyes. Something is coming, I said. I do not know what, but I know it is looking for you. The creature trembled. A soft glow rippled across its scales, as if reacting to an invisible signal. It curled toward the hearth like a cornered animal. I knelt in front of it and held its gaze with steady resolve. You are not alone, I said. The glow faded just enough for the creature to breathe calmly again. My promise hung between us with the weight of something binding and irrevocable. The rumble outside grew louder. The earth vibrated in a subtle rhythm not made by nature. My pulse quickened, though not from fear, from certainty. Whatever force had cast this being into my world had found its trace again, and it was getting closer. The ground trembled beneath my feet in a steady rhythm that carried a deliberate weight. I stepped outside with the creature pressed close to my leg. Its wings fluttered with nervous energy, and faint light pulsed under its scales. The forest seemed to shrink away from a vibration, as if the trees themselves understood something immense had arrived. The air tasted charged and metallic like the moment before a lightning strike. I moved toward the ridge where the view cut through the tree line. The creature followed with hesitant steps. A deep hum rolled across the sky, and the leaves shivered in response. Then the clouds parted in a slow, widening spiral. My breath halted as shadow after shadow descended from beyond the atmosphere. Thousands of shapes emerged in perfect formation. Their hulls glowed with black luster that seemed to consume sunlight. No design on Earth could match that scale or symmetry. The creature whimpered. Its glow intensified. It pressed its head against my leg, seeking some assurance even I could not give. I lowered my hand onto its back. Warm light traveled beneath my palm. The numbers I counted in my head grew surreal. Dozens became hundreds. Hundreds became thousands. The fleet covered the sky with a crushing sense of inevitability, and each ship displayed the same jagged crest, a sigil like a claw rending a star. The first warship halted directly above the valley. Its mass eclipsed half the horizon. A beam of pale light extended downward, and a tall figure materialized within the field. Armor of obsidian plates covered his body. 2 ridged horns swept backward from his head, and his eyes burned with a cold amber intensity. He stood with the controlled poise of someone accustomed to command, his gaze locked on the creature at my side. So the lost air hides among primitives. His voice resonated without speaker or device. The words formed in the air with perfect clarity. He took a step forward. The creature shrank behind me and trembled with recognition. The figure observed me with detached interest. You have sheltered what belongs to the Black Emperor. Surrender it, and your world may continue to exist. I held my ground. The creature clung to me with silent desperation. Understanding settled heavily in my chest. This was the hunter the creature feared. This was the one who wanted the air extinguished, and he had come with an armada behind him. I spoke with controlled firmness. Explain what you intend to do with him. The figure tilted his head slightly as if amused. It is not for you to question. The air is a threat to our dominion. His survival would fracture the rule of the Black Emperor. There can be no rival bloodline. Hand him over. The creature uttered a low cry. Its wings flared in a defensive arc light, rippled across the scales in rapid pulses. The figure watched the glow with a calculating expression. His voice turned sharp. He must be terminated before his growth reaches final stage. I stepped in front of the creature fully. No. The figure paused. The air tightened as if the world held its breath. You refuse. I refuse. For a moment, nothing moved. Then the figure lifted one hand. Shadows pulled around his fingers like liquid night. The ground beneath us vibrated with gathering force. The creature pressed itself against me, and for the first time, I felt true fear radiating from it. Not fear for itself. Fear for me. I raised my rifle, though I knew it would be meaningless. The figure regarded the weapon with mild disdain. You stand against the will of an empire for a being you do not understand. A foolish choice, yet not unexpected from a species that has never seen the scale of true power. A surge of pressure slammed into the valley. Trees bowed under force. Stones split. The creature staggered and instinctively projected a burst of light that deflected the impact around us. The shield flickered weakly, but held. The figure observed the display with narrowed eyes. So the maturation has begun. Unfortunate. He extended his arm again, and the sky darkened. A second wave gathered with far greater magnitude. I braced, but knew we could not withstand it. The creature looked up at me with a pleading expression. It nudged my chest with its head. A single word echoed in my mind. Run. I shook my head. Running would only delay the inevitable, and abandoning it would guarantee its death. I placed both hands on its shoulders. Stay with me. We survive together, or not at all. The creature made a small sound and leaned into my hold. Light gathered beneath its scales in bright surges. Its body trembled with strain. Something within it fought to awaken fully, but lacked the strength. Not yet. Not enough. The figure above us prepared to strike. His outline crackled with a darkness that bent the air around him. My breath came steady despite the rising dread. I had failed once before. I would not repeat that failure. If this was the end, it would not come from surrender. The creature stepped forward instead of hiding. Its wings lifted. Its light intensified until it hurt to look at. A wave of energy rippled outward. The incoming shadow struck the barrier and shattered into harmless fragments. The valley shook from the force, but held. The figure froze. Surprise flickered through his expression. Then comprehension. So the air bonds with you. That explains the accelerated response. All the more reason to extinguish him now. He raised both arms, and the fleet responded instantly. Thousands of warships shifted formation and aimed downward. I felt the weight of their aim like a physical pressure on the spine. The creature trembled violently. I wrapped an arm around it. The figure spoke with finality. Surrender or be annihilated. I looked into the creature's eyes. Fear burned there. But beneath the fear was something else. Resolve. Trust. A belief that I would not abandon it. I tightened my hold and faced the figure again. No. The moment stretched. The figure lowered his arms with deliberate calm. Very well. Then let your world bear the consequence of your defiance. He dissolved into the beam of light. The ships above charged with a low droning hum. Energy built in spiraling patterns across their hulls. The sky glowed with lethal brilliance. I pulled the creature close and braced for impact, but the strike did not fall. Not yet. Instead, the fleet parted to either side, as something even larger emerged from the shroud of clouds. The creature gasped with a sound of terror and recognition. Its body curled involuntarily against me. Whatever approached was far greater than the first wave, and it was coming for us. The massive shape broke through the clouds with a slow, dreadful grace. The hull stretched across the sky like a moving continent, and every shadow it cast deepened the trembling under my boots. The creature pressed itself against me, its scales flickering with frantic bursts of light that carried both fear and recognition. I felt the tremors through its body and understood that this new arrival was not just another hunter. This was something older and far more dangerous. The air tightened around us as if the world itself prepared to kneel. The warships shifted in synchronized arcs, forming a vast ring around the colossal vessel. A deep vibration rolled across the valley. The creature raised its head and stared upward with wide, frightened eyes. It whispered a soft-sounding name, so faint I barely heard it. The word echoed in my mind like a memory not my own. The Dominion. The name felt cold upon realization. The creature trembled as if the mere presence of that monstrous craft reached inside its lungs and stole its breath. A beam of white light lanced downward, and another figure descended, taller than the first. Armor woven with threads of silver and streaks of blood red. Horns curved in a jagged pattern across his skull, and his eyes glowed with a vicious hunger. His voice shook the very air. The air lives. Then another voice layered behind it. Not sound. A whisper that reached straight into thought. Hunt ends here. The creature collapsed under the weight of that presence. Its body convulsed with painful surges of light, as if something inside it strained to awaken but could not break through. I dropped beside it and held it tightly. Breathe. Stay with me. It gasped and shook its head as if answering a plea I could not hear. When its eyes lifted to mine, I saw more than fear. I saw guilt, as if it believed its existence condemned every living thing around it. I pressed my forehead to its scales. You are not a curse. You are not a weapon for them. You are not theirs at all. The creature let out a thin whimper. Then something shifted behind its eyes. A glimmer of memory. A flicker of inherited instinct. A spark of something ancient waiting to ignite. It lifted its head again with effort and stared at the looming figure, who continued his descent with cruel patience. The ground cracked where he landed. Dust exploded outward in a halo. He rose from the crater, his gaze fixed on the creature with pure, merciless intent. He extended one arm. Shadows crawled from his fingertips like serpents ready to strike. His voice cut through the wind. Step aside, mortal. The air must die for the universe to remain in order. I stood in front of the creature without hesitation. My heart beat steady, my voice firm. You want him, you go through me. The figure regarded me with cold amusement. He lifted both arms, and the shadows surged forward. I braced myself, expecting death in the next breath. But the shadows halted. They froze mid-strike as a burst of radiant light erupted from behind me. The creature stood shakily, wings unfurling, and a brilliant arc light pulsed from every scale. Heat rolled from its body in waves. Its voice rose in a fierce cry that echoed across the valley. The shadows recoiled as it burned. The figure watched in sudden stillness. The creature stepped forward and pressed its forehead to my chest. A surge of warmth traveled through me. Not burning, not painful, a connection. Its body glowed brighter, and the light passed into my bones, into my breath, into my pulse. The world sharpened into impossible clarity. I felt its fear, its memories, its trust, and its determination to survive. I knelt in front of it. Fight if you choose, or run. But not alone, never alone. The creature nodded once, and the light around it flared with renewed strength. The figure snarled. You cannot protect him. He is still incomplete. He cannot ascend. He cannot stand against me. The creature let out a low growl. The light built around it until the air hummed with raw energy. The figure moved first, hurling a torrent of shadow that ripped trenches through the earth. I threw myself aside, dragging the creature with me. The shock wave split trees like twigs. The creature staggered. A crack ran along its scales. Its energy fluctuated wildly. It was fighting to mature before its body was ready. Fighting because it refused to let me face death alone. I placed my hands on either side of its face. Listen to me. You are not alone. You do not die here. Not for them. Its eyes locked onto mine. A final surge of light blasted upward, tearing through the clouds. The air roared. The warships trembled. And for a heartbeat, everything froze. Then the creature collapsed. I caught it in my arms. The glow dimmed to a faint flicker. Its breathing slowed. Its eyes fluttered with exhaustion. The figure approached with victorious certainty. The air fails. The universe will be cleansed. I stood over the creature, shielding it with my body. If this was the end, I would not spend it kneeling. The figure raised his arm for the killing blow. The creature's eyes snapped open. A blinding white radiance exploded outward. The force hurled me back, but I felt no pain, only heat and a deafening whisper inside my mind. Live. The creature rose from the ground, no longer trembling, no longer small. Its wings expanded with majestic force, and its entire form shifted into something larger, stronger, older than the being that had fallen moments before. The valley shook under the weight of its transformation. The figure staggered for the first time. His shadows recoiled. The creature hovered above the ground, bathed in sovereign fire. It looked at me once, and I felt the silent promise within that gaze. I will not let you fall. It turned toward the figure and unleashed a roar that tore through the sky. Light erupted from its body in a massive wave, sweeping across the fleet. Warships sputtered and died. Engines failed. Hulls cracked. Metal screamed under overwhelming force. The figure lunged in desperation, but the creature met him with a strike of pure luminous fury. The impact shattered the ground and sent both of them crashing through a mountainside. The valley blazed with light. The sky rippled as the last warships collapsed into silence. When the brightness finally faded, the creature landed beside me with slow, deliberate steps. Its wings folded gracefully. Its eyes glowed with calm strength. It lowered its head and nudged my hand gently like it had on the first night. I rested my forehead against its warm scales. We survived. It answered with a quiet rumble filled with relief and something deeper. A bond no force could sever. Above us the sky cleared for first time in hours. Peace settled over the valley as if the universe exhaled. But beneath that peace, I felt a truth waiting like distant thunder. We had won a battle, not the war.